Mexico. The Porfiriato, 1876 to 1911. Military coup staged by Porfirio, staged in 1876, promised to serve a single term, instead ruled for 34 years, installed the Científicos. Influence, stability, authoritarianism, foreign investment and economic growth, growing gap between rich and poor, competing among elite, ending divine ramage with a coup from within, revolution of 1910. The chaotic early 20th century revolution of 1911 set off a period of warlordism and popular uprising that lasted until 1934. Influences: Partisan-Selitism, Constitution of 1970, conflict of the Catholic Church, the Tristem Rebellion, establishment of PRI, institutional revolutionary party, stabilized conflict. The Cardinal upheaval, 1934 to 1940. Lizard Candle, the Roosevelt of Mexico, stabilized and radicalized Mexico political many change. Redistribution of land. Dos. Then the nationalization of industry, investment in public work, encouragement of peasant and union organization, concert of power in the presidency and import, substitution and industrialization and state corporatism. The emergency of the Tico and the Pimio theory. President Miguel Alem rejected many from Cardin socialist reform, promoted economic liberalization. Next presidents shifted and faces back. 1970s permitted stopped. Pendulum stopped. Tencos took control of 1970. Pendulum stopped. The government and the PRI moderate free market approach. 1980s neon liberalism, free market, balanced budget, privatization, free trade, limited government intervention. In the economy, the Mexican miracle, huge GNP growth based on the oil, followed by oil bust, conflict between politicos and técnicos. Citizens, society, and state.
Camarillas, patron-client networks are interwoven into the fabric of Mexican politics. Clientelism gives the government the upper hand. Role of the citizen is changing as political parties become more competitive. Cleavages are such as social class, urban versus rural, mestizo versus Amerindian, north versus south, often cross-cutting but recently have coincided urban, middle class, northern mestizos versus rural poor, and southern Amerindians. Political participation. Until recently, citizens lived under authoritarian rule by political elite. Participation characterized by revolution and protest, now increasing participation through legitimate, regular elections. Patron clientelism remains an important factor in political participation, but modernization tends to break this up. Networks get blurred in large population centers. More formal forms of participation are instituted.
Protest. Co-optation. Government responds to citizen demands by counting their demands and including protesting the political progress. Major protests, the Zapatist Zapatistas uprising, Oaxaca's protest. Voting. Before 1990, PRI controlled election on the local, state, and native levels, and national levels. High voting rates required by Peloton client system rampaged corruption, challengers easily defeated. As competing parties began to pull support from PRI, influences on voting patterns can be seen. Region, education, income. Civil society. Long-standing, lively civil society accompaniment of the public acceptance of the public protest. PRI practiced state comparatism, divided interest groups into three sectors: labor, peasants, and middle class. Each dominated by PRI-controlled groups. Civil society led to the downfall of PRI and formed a head in 1939. Disinfection of the business not cooperated into the government system led to 2000 elections. Vicente Fox, PRI state comparism broke up. Political institutions. Regime type, political state compressed. Communal authoritarian rule that allows the input from the interest groups outside of the government. Translation towards a comment and public political liberalization in the middle development stage. Political parties. For most of the 20th century, Mexico was vitriol on one-party state. Today, three parties in competitive elections are a reality. PRI continues power 1920 to 2000. Codification of elites, compressed structures, pardon Clinton's system lost presidency in 2000 by gained majority in lower legislative house in 2009. Political parties continued. Founded in an obfuscation party in 1939, created to represent business not including in PRI. Opposed centralization and anti-clericalism, strongest support in North. Regional autonomy, less government interviewing in economy, fair elections, wrapped with Catholic Church support for private and regional education. Religious education. Political parties continued. PRD. PRI's Obsidian on the left. Vote 132.500. Seat in lower house in 1988. Flooded by gains in 2006 and loses in 2006 and loses in 2009. Struggle to define a left of center alternatives to PRI's market or attended policies poorly organized. Current leader Obrado, mayor of Mexico City.
Since the formation of the PRI, policymaking has generally been centered around the president. So basically, he's looked at as the center figure. Through the patron clientele system, the president was also the virtual dictator for his sexennial. This was basically where he selected his successor, made all appointments to positions of power in government and PRI, and named candidates for state and local office. So that's quite a lot of power. The bureaucracy is extremely large, as it is in the U.S. They're paid very little, but those high levels that these elected officials hold, they have a lot of power. And under the PRI, the parastatal sector was huge. That although the number is now decreasing, Fox's efforts to privatize PMEX were unsuccessful. The legislature of Mexico is bicameral, which consists of a 128-member Senate, a 500-member Chamber of Deputies, And all of these people in the legislature are directly elected. Um, Over time, the PRI lost influence over the legislature as well as the presidency, and the number of women has also increased significantly in both the houses. So, as you can see from this, Mexico has gradually tried to reduce power from the president, as it's always been traditionally, and tried to focus on expanding the power in Mexico. The judiciary branch in Mexico, it does not consist of an independent judiciary or any system of judicial review. That's another major difference between Mexico and the U.S. We already went over how the Constitution was amended. Most laws in Mexico are federal, and it's starting various movements towards independent judiciary and the role of courts in protecting basic freedoms. Now let's move on to the military, the last and final thing in this discussion. The military dominated the Mexican politics through 19th and early 20th centuries. They did this through fear, through power, as anyone would fear an army with a gun or various other weapons. The PRI credited the PRI was credited with depoliticizing the military, and the tendency to dole out favors to the military led to strong ties between military officers and the drug trade. So this further led to various and widespread corruption throughout Mexico.